Open up a tab, grab a seat, and pour a pint. It's time for the Beer Guys Radio Show.
You want free beer? Go to the brewery.
Dedicated to the art, science, and enjoyment of craft beer.
Lady and gentlemen, the beer room.
Now, here are your hosts, Tim Dennis and Aaron Williams.
And it's the Beer Guys Radio Show. BeerGuysRadio.com is our website. We are a radio for the local craft beer movement, and I, like the man said, am Aaron Williams.
And I am Tim Dennis.
Yes, you are.
We got a treat today, Aaron.
I know we do.
As every week. We bring treats every week.
That is true. That is true.
But today we have Decatur's Three Taverns Craft Brewery here with us. We have Yoran and Brian. Guys, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Okay. Thanks for having us.
Happy to be here.
So we're going to have a great show. We're going to have a chat with them. And Aaron, you took a little trip over to Athens.
I did.
For a beer release there with Jester King and Collaboration Beer, and got to talk to Jeff Stuffings and Blake Tyers. And we'll listen a little bit what they have to say about their mutualism.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun talking to those guys at Creature Comforts over in Athens. And we've got your Whale of the Week, which I'm always looking forward to. And, of course, we'll check out what's going on with the hot list. But first, what happened this week, man? You had a busy day. I know it was brew day for you.
Brew
texted
day.
me that you were
got
brewing.
A brew day in.
That's
yeah.
awesome. So, whenever you have a brew day, it usually means you crack some beers open whilst you do that. Exactly.
Yeah. So we did a double brew day, Aaron. Double brew day. So we did a Party Guile brew. You familiar with Party Guile?
No.
So basically, we got two beers out of our grain bill there. So I did a Saison, and then we did a table beer, low ABV Saison, that I'm going to add gin botanicals to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Junipers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, of course, we had to crack several beers open. I got to try Muy Bonita from Funky Buddha. Apple Cinnamon Brown Ale, very good. Suburban Beverage was really good. It's a lime sour, excellent beer. Trillichini from Trillium, and it's a collaboration. I think it's Evil Twin, maybe, and that's a session IPA. And I didn't even know it was session. Drinking it, excellent beer, and Blackbeard's Breakfast.
Okay,
from Heavy Seas. Good stout, so I enjoyed that.
Excellent. I was, like I said earlier, I was up at Creature Comforts, and that was the bulk of my beer drinking was on that Thursday. And the folks there over in Athens were really kind to me. They've had one of your favorites on tap, the Creature Comforts Athena Paradiso, which is absolutely delicious, and I had to grab that as soon as I saw it on tap. Of course, the Tritonia, which really is my favorite Goza right now, which is their cucumber lime saison or Goza that they've got on tap there, and plus their Beer de Garde. I don't know if you had that at Beer de Garde.
I haven't had that one yet.
It is fantastic. I was blown away by that. That really was one of my favorite ones of the trip. But they also cracked open a Curious Number 8 as well, and one of the guys at Jester King had a Fontaflora Beats, Rhymes, and Life Beat Saison, which I hadn't had, but it is fantastic. And I don't even like beets.
See, I had that on cask at the Atlanta Cask Ale Festival, and I wasn't a fan of that one.
Okay.
But it seemed to be one of those beers that was pretty unique, so kind of the house divided for what people thought of that.
Yeah, again, like I said, I'm not a beets guy, but that was pretty good. Nice and red, too. So
very beety.
Beety.
Yes.
Exactly. So, hey, before we get into it, speaking of beers, by the way, Truck and Tap, of course, has our beer of the week, so let's get into that.
Crack open a cold one. It's the Truck and Tap Beer of the Week. Woo-hoo! Craft beer and food trucks in downtown Woodstock. Truckandtap.com.
And, of course, usually when we have a guest in studio, we like to ask them to bring some beers because, that's what we do. Because we like good beer. And the Three Taverns guys certainly obliged. Brian Purcell and Joran Van Hinderaker from the brewery. I see a cooler over there, Joran. I'm not sure what you cracked open, though, first. But
so
what you got?
We got a couple of beers with us. We have the 2014 Quasimodo.
Nice.
Which we will pour on our 3-year anniversary coming up.
Excellent.
Okay.
I brought our new Pale Ale that we made. We're starting a new hop series.
Yeah.
So I just filled up a growler of that.
It's called Sapient.
Okay.
Sapient. Okay.
It's the Hop Leaf Project, and this is the first of what will be many hop-forward beers coming from the brewery. Every 4 to 6 weeks, we'll try to introduce one to the market.
Is this kind of the hoppy side equivalent to Sour Asylum?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and of course, Sour Asylum is kind of your batch beers that you brew as well, similar to that. Just kind of have 2, 3, 4, and kind of keep
that's
going.
That's correct. Next week, we'll release Sour Asylum number 9, so
nice.
That's what we're up to.
Excellent. And a couple other ones there I see you're on, too.
I got a bottle with no label.
That's my favorite kind.
Mystery beers.
That's right.
I also brought our the wine barrel aged triple.
Oh, yeah.
Very nice.
This beer ready just in time for, again, our anniversary.
Your third anniversary coming right up, too.
We call that beer 3.
That's very
Now,
very
where'd the
good.
name come from on that one, Brian?
That's right.
Awesome. So we got a great selection, guys. Thank you so much for bringing some beers to share with us.
Definitely. We'll crack one of those open here coming up a little bit later. But first, it wouldn't be the Beer Guys without headlines.
What's in the news? The Beer Guys have the scoop.
Extra, extra, read all about it.
Time for headlines.
And I had a big list of all these really good headlines that I had, and then I had to throw them out the window.
They got trumped.
They did.
But not by Trump.
But not by Trump. We're
more important.
No, exactly. More important than Trump. It's craft beer, yes. So the big news, of course, coming out of Georgia, coming out of Athens, actually, this week is Terrapin. Terrapin has now basically had an acquired... 10th and Blake acquires the majority interest in Terrapin beer. And again, 10th and Blake is the craft and import division of Miller Coors. So 10th and Blake before had about a less than 25% stake in Terrapin. Mm-hmm. That was back in 2011 when that happened. But now, again, this week it's been official, and they're basically got the controlling stake in Terrapin right now.
Yeah, they said the deal should finalize in August of this year. They didn't disclose terms of the deal, but they will have majority interest in it. So there'll be a division that will operate as an independent division of 10th and Blake.
Yeah, and they've got, 10th and Blake is one of those Miller Coors companies. Blue Moon is one of them.
Lining Kugels.
Yeah, and Stella Artois and some of the other importing craft beers for Miller Coors, too. Yeah. So, and it will be interesting, too, because, again, as of the show taping, too, we just saw that the DOJ had a merger. The merger, of course, between AB InBev and Miller Coors has been approved, too. So lots of stuff going on.
The internet is a buzz today.
It is. It's been a very, very busy week. So we've reached out to the folks at Terrapin, and obviously they're kind of getting their heads together on this one. But we hope to have either Spike or somebody on the radio show a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, crazy day for them today, but they did say they'll work with us. We'll get someone on here soon to talk.
Yeah, definitely. We'll talk about that too. So it may not be a bad thing. It may not be a business decision, but for me, I know a lot of folks kind of decry the fact that they're being taken over by quote unquote big beer. It's a business, and it may be the best business decision for them. We don't have all the information, so I don't necessarily want to draw any conclusions until that happens.
I got a statement from Nancy Palmer of the Georgia Craft Brewers Guild, who was talking about with the acquisition, they no longer fall into the definition to be a standard. Brian, I think you clarified a voting member of the Georgia Craft Brewers Guild.
That's correct. Yeah.
But Nancy did say that they've been very critical in growing the craft beer scene in Georgia and the Guild, and that she did say look at a new membership category that would have to be voted ratified by the board there.
Yeah, of course.
The Terrapin's been very involved, and I think they'd still like to stay. They're still a part of the Georgia beer community.
Absolutely, and of course the second largest producer of beer, craft beer here in the state, and they've been around pretty much as long as anyone else has, with the exception of Sweetwater and Red Brick. But it's interesting news, and like I said, we're kind of trying to process that and see what's going on, with that. But it looks like it is the first Georgia brewery to be acquired by quote unquote big beer. So there's that. So in some other news, really interesting news, actually, you reported on this earlier this week, is that a couple of new breweries coming into Georgia as well, Paradox and Rivertown. Too. Paradox out of Denver, out of Colorado, Rivertown, I believe, in Cincinnati, up in the Ohio area. So they're going to have some more beers coming down, which is also nice too. So
when we shared that news, both the breweries had their fans jump on Twitter and Facebook and tell us we need to drink their beers.
Yes, so I'm excited about that. So that is always good. And actually, by the way, too, a little bit of a scoop too. Schmaltz Brewing up in upstate New York, they have a new distributor, Liberator, and I talked with the owner of Schmaltz earlier this week, and he said that to expect some more of their beers coming out as well too. So
excellent.
They've got a lot of sour, a lot of barrel aged, a lot of crazy stuff going on there. Looks like Liberator is going to bring that some down here too. So that's always good.
Very cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a few minutes. You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
This is Neil Engelman, brewmaster, Wrecking Bar Brew Pub, and you're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
The Beer Guys are back right after this.
Hey, it's Aaron. I want to give a quick shout out to our newest sponsor. It's HopSpot Beer Tours of Atlanta. Now, there's a lot of tours out there, but what makes HopSpot Beer Tours different? Well, you get exposure. There's more to Atlanta craft beer than just breweries. A HopSpot Beer Tour gives you the who, what, where, and when to craft beer right here in Atlanta and the state. Education. Whether you're a native, a transplant, or a visitor, you'll always learn something new. And connection. HopSpot connects you to guests, local breweries, and businesses to create those lasting relationships. We invite you to check out what makes HopSpot different. Like them on Facebook, follow them on Twitter and Instagram at HopSpotATL, and of course, visit HopSpotBeerTours.com. Use promo code BeerGuys10 and receive 10% off your order. HopSpot Beer Tours. Hop on, get connected. That's HopSpotBeerTours.com. Here on the Beer Guys Radio Show, we always encourage you to drink local. And of course, shop local at your favorite bottle shop. But sometimes you want something different. A beer you heard about online, or maybe you've got a bottle share to attend, but nothing special to bring, or you just want to check out something new. That's where Inside the Cellar comes in. They stock lots of craft beer from breweries that may not be available in your hometown. Shipping is almost free for every 12 you buy, and if you use our special promo code, you'll get 10% off of your order. Inside the Cellar also stocks wines and craft soda too, and using Inside the Cellar helps us out. So head to BeerGuysRadio.com, click on the sponsors link at the top of the page, and click the Inside the Cellar icon to shop, and enter our special promo code for 10% off too. That's BeerGuysRadio.com, click the sponsors link, and then go to Inside the Cellar.
The Beer Guys Radio Show on the Beer Guys Radio Network. BeerGuysRadio.com. Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
What in tarnation?
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Hey, it's the Beer Guys Radio Show. BeerGuysRadio.com is the website where you can get all of the cool info that we have throughout the week. Coming up, we're going to have Tim's Whale of the Week. Plus, we will talk to Jeffrey Stuffing and Blake Tyers from Creature Comforts and Gesture King about their new collaboration. But first, we have got 3 taverns in the house. Brian Purcell, he's the founder, owner, I guess, and general bigwig. Is that your official title?
Depends on what day it is.
Okay, good.
Right.
Of 3 taverns.
Chief cook and bottle washer.
That's right. 3 taverns craft brewery.
Correct.
Yes, and you're on von Hinderacker.
Yes.
Did I get that right? Am I close? Hinderacker. Okay.
See, that's.
I have to get that going on. I can't do that yet.
Joran and I had a conversation one time about the proper way to pronounce goza.
Yes.
And or goose.
Who's it?
And see, that sounds like who's it? He's like, no, who's that? It's like, okay, let's just drink a beer. I'm going close enough there.
Excellent. Well, congratulations on your 3-year anniversary. That's of course got a big celebration coming up here soon, and we'll talk about that too. So,
thanks.
Tell us about the start of 3 taverns. Began with a trip to Belgium, right? Or even before?
The inspiration for Belgian beer began.
Okay.
1994 on a night in Brussels. So that's when I was first introduced to the amazing Trappist beers and all the wonder of the selection of beers in Belgium, and came back to America, and here in Georgia you couldn't get those beers. So that love was dormant for some time. I started home brewing in the early 2000s, and really I brewed a lot of beers, but Belgian beers were the beers I loved to brew the most. They were the beers I thought were the most interesting, maybe most introspective experience when drinking Belgian beers. There's a lot to ponder and consider in the complexity that Belgian yeast gives to beer that's unique to really any beer in the world. And I always found that making a really good Belgian beer to style, or even spinning that style somewhere else, was really hard to do because you can't hide behind the hops when you're making a true Belgian beer. So that was really the beginning of the seed for Belgian brewery, though I didn't know it was going to be a brewery at the time.
I love to brew Belgian styles. I do a lot of saisons for my home brew, and it's fun to see a little different temperature change. A little different this and that with those yeast. What the complexity and the depth you can get out of them. They're just a lot of fun to brew and drink.
That's right. Yeah.
But speaking of beer, we opened one of yours, a pale, recently. You said it's part of the hop project?
The Hop Leaf Project.
The Hop Leaf Project, okay.
It's brand new out of the gate project that we just launched. This was really a project that was inspired by the brewers at I'd say the team of brewers at Three Taverns. We've had such a good time, or the brewers in particular have had such a good time with the Sour Asylum series that, and it's been easy to do, or how do I say that? It's because we're limiting the series to draft only, and we're only making a small batch each month or each 6 weeks. We've been able to manage that, and we looked at our schedule and thought we could do the same thing with another series of beer and decided, well, what do we want to do? And Joran, maybe you could speak to why did we decide to do a hop-forward series of beers? I'll let the Belgian talk about hoppy beers.
Hoppy beers, exactly. Yeah, that's perfect.
The expert, right?
That's right. That's right.
So what about this one that we're drinking right now, Joran? What's the profile on this one?
So this is basically pale ale. We use Palisades, Galaxy, and Eldorado, both Whirlpool and dry hopping. Bittering is all hop extract that we use. We've been heavily experimenting with hop extract, we've decided that we're also for like Night on Ponds, we'll go for extract for bittering, because it's just more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the hop project for us is just to play around. I think it came out also when we made the 3-day IPA for Decatur Arts Festival, which was a big hit, and everybody at the brewery really enjoyed it, and so we really wanted to make different hoppy beers, and we have a couple of ideas that we're working on. So
now with this one, will the base beer remain the same and just the hops profile change?
No.
Okay.
This has spelt malt in it, so we will change alcohol, we'll change malt bill, we'll change hop profile for sure. I've been looking for some hops, probably some experimental hops that we will use in the future, but also we're looking at some Belgian hop farms to maybe try and experiment with that as well.
Very cool.
So we're talking to Joran van Hinderachter, the head brewer, and Brian Purcell, the founder of Three Taverns Craft Brewery. I'm going to completely butcher your name, Joran. I apologize the entire time. So,
that's all right.
We talk about the hop forward beers. Now let's go ahead and talk back to some more of the Belgian styles too. You say on your website that you kind of style in the Belgian way. What does that mean to you all?
The Belgian way.
Yeah.
Well, for me, and of course, it's going to mean something different for Joran because he grew up in Belgium and is steeped in the tradition that is more of a romantic ideal for me. But it just means a real commitment to quality, to experimentation. If you look at the Belgian beers, they were really the early explorers in beers, venturing outside of the lines and using sugar in beer and spices in beer, and then the wild yeast and the open and spontaneous fermentation. They were doing things that really no one anywhere else in the beer world was doing before anyone else was. So it's really that's woven deeply into the fabric of Three Taverns. We want to continue to experiment, continue to explore. You see that in the Sour Asylum series, even though that's not really Belgian influence, that's German influence, that type of souring. But it's the experimentation and the attention to tradition, but not being rooted or controlled by tradition.
Now, I know, Brian, I think, Joran, at the time, you were working on your visa to get over here, actually, and I was talking to Brian, and it was important to you, Brian, to have a Belgian brewer. I remember speaking to you, and you mentioning that you wanted to get Joran over here. So, Joran, what made you decide to come from Belgium to brew in America?
I don't know.
Don't know?
Crazy? Yeah, there you go.
No, back in 2008, I did an internship in New Belgium, in Fort Collins. Learned a lot there. Had a great time. definitely in the weekends skiing, riding my bike. I had a lot of
internship. Skiing,
that's what they
biking,
call it, exactly.
Hiking the mountains.
I also helped the guys at New Belgium. I worked on their bright beer filtration, which sometimes was boring, but
that's what interns have to do the boring stuff anyway. Yeah.
So I knew the American beer scene a little bit, I guess. And then on one particular day, I got an email from Brian saying that he's looking for a brewer, and I don't know. I thought about it, and
it was a very compelling email.
You convinced him to come all the way over here. Exactly. Not a lot of skiing here, but still, that's all right.
Now your uncle's the brewmaster at New Belgium, correct?
Yes, he is.
So Peter Bouckaert.
Bouckaert, yes.
So very cool. So 2 members of the family brewing over here in America. Mm-hmm. So very cool. Very cool.
Excellent. Well, we're about to take a break. We're going to go. Oh, we actually have a minute left. Sorry. See, Marquise is back behind the board. I don't have a quick grasp of the thing. So
I don't know if we can get this in a minute, but I'm going to bring it up. We can finish it when we get back. Inceptus. So this is. I know the story behind this beer, and we talked about kind of the. I know it's not a lambic or that, but kind of in that tradition of the wild and fermentations. That can you tell us about Inceptus and kind of what got you to go for that beer?
Yeah, we actually the bottle with no label is actually this year's version.
Oh, nice.
Okay,
which no one has had.
That's even better. Okay,
but so basically, Inceptus started off that I was brewing in on a snowy day, and we put some wort outside, and we let that sit overnight. And then put it in, I think it's the 5 gallon oak barrels.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And let it go in there.
Cool. We'll get back to that story coming up. We got a hard break. We'll be back right after this.
The Beer Guys Radio Show on the Beer Guys Radio Network. BeerGuysRadio.com.
It's Aaron and Tim, the Beer Guys. If you're like us, no lunch or dinner is complete without a pint or two of craft beer.
Which is why Truck and Tap in downtown Woodstock is always on our list. Tim, why do they call it Truck and Tap?
Well, the tap part is easy. They have 12 of them. Bottles, too. Not sure what to drink? All of their beer servers are Cicerone certified. And if you got someone who isn't a beer fan, not to worry. Truck and Tap carries wine, mixed drinks, and even handcrafted sodas.
As for the truck part, well, that's when it gets interesting. Truck and Tap features your favorite Atlanta area food trucks daily. That way, you're getting a different menu every day.
Check it out. Truck and Tap in downtown Woodstock. Truckandtap.com. Let them know that the Beer Guys sent you.
Hey, this is Aaron. I want to thank you so much for listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We've got some really awesome things that are coming soon that will help us engage with you some more. We're not going to lie to you, though. It takes time, effort, and money to produce this show every week. So if you'd like to be part of the Beer Guys family, we would love your help. Head to patreon.com/beerguys to become a sponsor. We're not going to beg. Okay, maybe just a little bit. But hey, we've got some great swag for those who become a sponsor, and you'll be among the first to know about the great things that are coming to the Beer Guys universe. Again, that's patreon.com, patreon.com/beerguys, or you can go to beerguysradio.com and click the sponsor link. We thank you for your support, and cheers. Hey, it's Aaron, and you know what I hate? When I miss a favorite TV show and forget to DVR it. Don't let this tragic tale happen to you when it comes to Beer Guys Radio. Subscribe to us on demand. It is easy. If you've got iTunes, Stitcher, or any other iOS or Android podcast app, search for us, or go to beerguysradio.com, click listen, and you can copy and paste the RSS feed. While you're there, by the way, give us a review. It really helps. That's Beer Guys Radio on demand. Catch it today.
Ahoy there, mateys! Hunting whales? We've got you covered with Tim's Whale of the Week.
Yar! You got 3 whales of the week.
Got
this
a few
week.
whales.
Absolutely.
So yeah, some good stuff to look out for this week. So this hit shelves a little earlier in the week. Woot Stout. The latest version of Woot Stout, that's from Stone. Will Wheaton is involved with the collaboration there. So that's on the shelves. Always a popular one when it comes around. So check that out. Wicked Weed Cucumber.
That's a hard one to pronounce. Cucumber or something.
Cucumber.
Yes.
So it is I believe it's a golden ale with cucumber, basil, and juniper.
Okay.
So interesting flavor, but that's there's been launch events and stuff around there, so this is one they're hyping up a lot. And some Jester King bottles have been hitting shelves.
Uh-oh.
So that's one to look at. I saw Noble King around there, so they did say there's not a lot that's going to make it to retail. A lot of what we'll see now will be special events in that.
Yep.
But that's one to look out for there.
Excellent. So, a lot of whales out there, so go hit your bottle shops and see what's going on, and hope you can catch yourself a whale or two. But in the meantime...
So we're talking to Joran and Brian from 3 Taverns. We had to take a cut there for a break. We were just getting into talking about Inceptus. So while we were on the break, Joran was nice enough to open up an unlabeled bottle that he has that is this year's version of Inceptus, and we were just starting to talk about what the beer is. So, Joran, sorry to cut you off there. Let's hear about Inceptus.
Yeah, so I think I finished with saying that we put it outside overnight, put it in an oak barrel, a smaller version.
But before we put it in the oak barrel, I want to just add a little bit of color to his story, because it was snowpocalypse, and the city was pretty much shut down.
Yes.
And Joran could walk to work. Because he lived so close to the brewery at the time. So he walked there, and I lived close. I came in with my Jeep, and it was a brew day. But I remember when Joran walked in the brewery, and, the steam was coming out of his breath, and he said, I love this weather. He said, the air is so clean. He said, we should do open fermentation. I'm like, I'm in.
Do it. Let's go. Yeah.
So the result is the only good thing to ever come out of some snowpocalypse here. So this is delicious. So you opened it up. It was a cool, cold day. You opened the fermentation, and what developed?
Yeah. It was a smaller batch, and I was brewing a Lepech that day. So it was basically some wort I had drawn off from the big system. And we let that sit for a couple of months. I think eventually 8 months. And then we did a bigger brew, filled up some barrels with wort, and added the small barrel to all these barrels.
North Georgia wine barrels. Yes. We made a trip up to Dahlonega and picked up 4 wine barrels from Montaluce Winery there. So we were trying to keep it as close to home as possible in every area.
Excellent.
Of the beer.
Yeah, and we had 2 300 liters and 2 20 liters that we filled up. And we let that sit. We let it sit. Just, in the little room by the tasting room where we can control the temperature. Basically takes time.
Just let it sit and let it do its thing. Exactly.
So is this, do you keep the culture going that you originally captured and that's used each? Okay.
So what we basically repitch some of the beer back into our barrels. So for this year's version, we had I think we had 14 wine barrels that we filled up, and we bottled quite a bit of it. Last year we only had 900 bottles. This year we did around 2,000 bottles and a couple of kegs. But we kept some beer in the barrels. Like I told, we did one barrel that we added blueberries to. So we'll see how that works out.
That sounds delicious.
Hand-picked. Now you were saying hand-picked in Athens blueberries, right? So again, staying local as possible, right?
Yeah.
It's fun. Yeah, and we're going to. We're working right now on getting some muscadine. We want to use one of the barrels for that. So these will have their own unique names as well. They're spawns of Inceptus, or sons of Inceptus.
Sons of Inceptus. Very cool.
Now, Brian, speaking of local, Decatur, where you guys are based, is home to a pretty solid beer culture. I mean, of course, you've got the Brickstore Pub, which is an icon nationally. Yep. Wild Heavens in Avondale Estates, which is pretty close. Blue Tarp, Ale, Leon's Full Service. You got Twain's. Talk to me a little bit about your area, Decatur, as a beer city, a beer town, beer destination.
Yeah, it's awesome. So I moved to Decatur in 2000, and I was ready to move. I'd been in Atlanta since 1984, and I actually lived over this way a little bit, South Buckhead area. But I was ready for something different. And I stumbled into Decatur one day, and the sidewalks are what seduced me. I realized this is a walking community, and there's not a lot of that in Atlanta. But I think what really did it, I went there one day, I parked, it was the middle of the afternoon, and there was really no cars there. It's a lot more crowded than it was back then. Yeah. But there was this pub, the Brick Store Pub. I'd never been in, walked in, and they were serving La Trappe. Sure what year that was, but I had not had a Belgian beer since that night in Brussels, and I ordered the La Trappe, and that just reawakened the memories and my imaginations of that night in Brussels so long ago, but also just all the wonder of Belgian beers. And that is what directed me to move to Decatur. I moved to Decatur shortly after that, but Decatur, in terms of beer culture, it's really built off of or seeded in the Brick Store Pub, but it has it's become just I think the craft beer hub in Atlanta or in Georgia for craft beer. You're hard pressed to walk into a bar or a pub in Decatur and find a Budweiser on draft, or a Miller, or any of the macro breweries on draft. You might find a bottle here or there. So and if you go to a party in Decatur, the great thing is it's just a party. Everybody brings a little beer, and it's close to a bottle share because it's just a different community of beer drinkers.
Yeah, it's something that, like you said, there's bars, brew pubs, restaurants. There's a huge craft focused anywhere you go there, and more looking to come into the area too. I know there's a brew pub in the works to come over there that we've tried. Good Word, I think it is.
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm.
And their beers are fantastic. Be another nice addition. So it's be great to see that continue to grow over there. It's already an awesome destination for craft beer for sure.
Yeah, if you're going to start a restaurant in Decatur, you've got to have a great craft beer program or a vision for one. For sure.
Cool. Well, Brian, speaking of a vision, too, you've got a pretty big barrel aging program as well. Of course, bourbon barrel age, you have the Feast Noel, Heavy Bell, Double Shot, Departed Spirit, a lot of bourbon barrel aging in that. And that's been a trend that's been growing for the past few years. What's your take on it?
I love bourbon, and I love the influence that the wood and bourbon character give to beer. I think it's amazing, and so and I don't see it slowing down. It's just any more than bourbon would ever slow down, or beer would ever slow down.
They initially did the bourbon, and now they're doing wine barrels, gin barrels. They're tequila. They're doing everything in barrels now, and it's a real fun trend.
So speaking of spirits, what's the status update on your spirit there? Because that was targeted for Christmas last year, right?
That was it was targeted for whenever
when it's ready. It's ready.
Independent Distilling said it was going to be ready, and so I think maybe Christmas this year. I'm hoping. We haven't heard the latest, but we got a taste of it recently, and it is fantastic.
And which beer was it that was distilled for that?
This was Joran's idea. Okay. So we had an excess of Feast Noel. Which is our Christmas quadruple. Mm-hmm. It's Quasimodo with Christmas spice. And we had excess kegs, and we were trying to figure out what we were going to do with it, because when the Christmas season's over, it's over, and it's over for that beer. And Joran said, why don't we see if the guys across the street would distill it? And I'm like, you can do that? He's like, yeah, absolutely. So Joran gave him a call, and you can tell him what your idea for that was.
Yeah, so across the street, Independent Distilling, they're next to Blue Tarp. They helped us distill it, and they have a small barrel aging.
Yeah. Cool. Well,
we've got some great timing today talking to Joran, right? Cut in right at the break. So
yeah, we'll be back right after this. You'll listen to the Beer Guys Radio Show, beerguysradio.com.
This is Glenn Golden from Jailhouse Brewing Company. You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
The Beer Guys are back right after this.
Hey, it's Aaron. I want to give a quick shout out to our newest sponsor. It's HopSpot Beer Tours of Atlanta. Now, there's a lot of tours out there, but what makes HopSpot Beer Tours different? Well, you get exposure. There's more to Atlanta craft beer than just breweries. A HopSpot Beer Tour gives you the who, what, where, and when to craft beer right here in Atlanta and the state. Education. Whether you're a native, a transplant, or a visitor, you'll always learn something new. And connection. HopSpot connects you to guests, local breweries, and businesses ways to create those lasting relationships. We invite you to check out what makes HopSpot different. Like them on Facebook, follow them on Twitter and Instagram at HopSpotATL, and of course, visit HopSpotBeerTours.com. Use promo code BeerGuys10 and receive 10% off your order. HopSpot Beer Tours. Hop on, get connected. That's HopSpotBeerTours.com. Here on the Beer Guys Radio Show, we always encourage you to drink local. And of course, shop local at your favorite bottle shop. But sometimes you want something different. A beer you heard about online, or maybe you've got a bottle share to attend, but nothing special to bring, or you just want to check out something new. That's where Inside the Cellar comes in. They stock lots of craft beer from breweries that may not be available in your hometown. Shipping is almost free for every 12 you buy, and if you use our special promo code, you'll get 10% off of your order. Inside the Cellar also stocks wines and craft soda too, and using Inside the Cellar helps us out. So head to BeerGuysRadio.com, click on the sponsors link at the top of the page, and click the Inside the Cellar icon to shop, and enter our special promo code for 10% off too. That's BeerGuysRadio.com, click the sponsors link, and then go to Inside the Cellar.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Roger. What's our vector, Victor?
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We are here speaking with 3 Taverns Craft Brewery out of Decatur, Georgia. Brian Purcell and Joran von Hinderachter here chatting with us about their beer. Guys, we've had a great chat. Things have moved quickly on us, but we want to cover at least a few more items real quick. Cans. Brian, you just started canning your beer, Prince of Pilsen being the first one. You did get your own canning line there. And
we did.
So what else are we going to see coming off the canning line from 3 Taverns?
Well, we have 2 beers coming in August to join Prince of Pilsen.
Okay.
And it's going to be a Night on Ponce IPA.
Yes.
And our first of our Sour Asylum beers that will be packaged in 12 ounce, and that's Rapturous, our raspberry sour.
Nice.
I think a beer site or something actually mentioned that Rapturous canning a little prematurely.
Yeah, you got a little sneak peek of a sketch of the art for the
ran away with it,
which is a little different but close. But I think you're going to like it.
Good, excellent.
You're going to like it.
Excellent. And as you mentioned before earlier in the show, you're celebrating your 3rd anniversary. You got a lot of things going on this weekend. What have you got going on? Actually, starting later this afternoon on Saturday.
So we celebrate 3 years,
yes,
which is a big deal for 3 Taverns. And we start at 3 o'clock this Saturday, July 23rd.
Okay.
We will be releasing our anniversary beer, which is a triple, which we call 3.
There's another 3. There you go.
And we'll have 33 beers on tap.
Awesome.
We're from 3 to 8. We're going to have a couple of bands. Some great live music, in fact, and some food tables from some of the local Decatur restaurants, a food truck as well, and it's going to be a big time, a really big time. Yeah,
Brian, congratulations on 3 years. Thanks for sharing the beer with us here. So, Joran, I'd like to get you to come back and chat with us sometime because something we didn't get into much, you're actually involved with the brewery in Belgium as well, correct?
Yeah.
Brewery Verzet?
Yes, it was a side project, but they're actually coming over in October, and we're going to do a collaboration with 3 Taverns.
Great. Well, if you're open to it, we'd love to have you guys back on to talk about that a little more in the future.
Sure.
Sounds good. Hey, by the way, before we get rid of the show for one more week, I took a trip over to Athens and I talked to Jeffrey Stuffings from Jester King and Blake Tyers from Creature Comforts, talking about their collaboration mutualism. Let's listen in right now. Tell me a little bit about the beer. What was the conversation behind it, and how did this come about?
So I think it kind of started with a sense of place where we come from and putting that into beer, and then also we love pilsners as well, and it's kind of like made this romantic idea of like a pilsner once upon a time sitting in a barrel and then maturing because it is mixed culture, because this is before people knew what yeast and bacteria was.
Yeah. Right. The magic stick, so to speak, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Like then ultimately, like it would potentially develop into this idea, and so we kind of worked with that, and then kind of started figuring out ways we wanted to represent our homes. So we got the Dayspring Farm is nearby. We love using their grains. So we use wheat and grits from them, and we made this Pilsner, largely driven also by their influence and how to work with their mixed culture, because your mixed culture is an animal. It's a beast.
Yeah, it's basically our mixed culture was a blend of a couple of pure culture strains of Saison yeast with some yeast capture experiments we did where we just took native flora growing around our brewery and incorporated the dregs from those fermentations into the mix, and then we also took some of our cool ship inoculations and mixed that in together. And our head brewer Garrett Crowell was really led that process of creating our mixed culture about 3.5 years ago, and we've just let that same culture just develop over time and kind of acclimate to our brewery, and it's fun to share that culture with the breweries we collaborate with, and like as Blake said, it adds a little bit of a soul to a beer that maybe is brewed thousands of miles away, and kind of helps create that connection to a place. Because just to echo what Blake said, I think that is something that's going to become increasingly more relevant and important in the beer world as it matures. But in terms of actually fermenting with this mixed culture, we've learned just through trial and error over the years that it is responsive to things like temperature, hopping rates, the amount of time we give it. And I think initially it's fair to say with this beer that we tried to kind of give it a big dose of hops to remain relatively bitter and not particularly sour over time. Okay. But, or I should say when it's young, but now as time has gone by, it's kind of straddling this line between a little funky and tart, where we're still retaining some of those kind of dry and bitter characteristics, which is why I say it hits every base for me, which I mean, we call it a Southern farmhouse lager, which there's a lot to that name. There's a lot of connotations for each one of those words, but I think this beer really hits true or rings true to every one of those words in that name.
Yeah, it's fun for us because coming up with thinking about the way to put that name to it, it's this really is the most accurate way to put a style behind this beer, but also while doing that, we're really going to make people ask a lot of questions. Yeah. Because if you say it's a Southern style farmhouse lager, most people are what are you talking about?
Exactly, because I've got an idea what a lager is. Right. I've got an idea what a farmhouse ale is, but how do you combine that? That's just a weird thing for me to get around.
The base Pilsner for this, we sent just a couple crowlers out to you guys, but we had 1 quarter barrel Pilsner that we pulled off and carbonated before we added the bugs. And it was just an awesome Pilsner. Loved it. And we should have drank more of that. But maybe that's the next one. We'll just drink the Pilsner. There you go. But once we added, the cultures from both of our breweries, it adds a little bit of our soul to each other, and then really starts echoing that farmhouse idea of the way farmhouse beers were made, plus, working with local farmers. The Bretts from Dayspring Farm are here tonight. I was super stoked to have you guys meet them. And it's just awesome to bring all that together, where we can really, challenge what people think is of a style, what it has to be. Because we could call this a Saison. It would survive in that world if you called it a Saison. But to really, draw attention to, I think, a national conversation that's happening is how do we talk about mixed fermentation beer? It's let's mess it up a little bit. Let's call it a Southern style farmhouse lager. Make people ask questions and use that as a tool to educate people what this is. And even our staff, I was talking before we opened today about the beer, and they didn't really so is it an ale now? Is it a lager? It's you should just depart from that, thinking of what it has to be, and use that as an opportunity to talk about what the beer is. And it's you don't worry about La Folie, for example, starts its life as a lager. It's a very familiar one we all drink, and it's we're not really worried about if it's an ale or a lager. When it's all said and done, it's a beautiful beer.
Tastes really good. Exactly.
So I think that's what we were all stoked about, is that this came out from our conversation a year ago. I feel this is extremely accurate representation of what we were going for. We couldn't be more stoked with the outcome, and it's definitely an honor to work with these guys.
That's awesome.
Likewise.
Blake Tyers, Jeffrey Stuffings, of course, and Jester King. Blake from Creature Conference here in Athens. Cheers, guys. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And thanks again to Jeffrey Stuffing from Jester King and Blake Tyers from Creature Comforts for letting me talk to them a little bit. So have more details on that coming up later. BeerGuysRadio.com for the details.
details. But first, we've got a giveaway to give away.
We do.
Yes.
So our winner this week, and the way they entered Aaron is by subscribing to This Week in Georgia Beer.
That's right.
You get a newsletter each week. Our winner is Greg Poquette.
That's great.
Greg, thanks for subscribing. We'll drop you an email. We'll get some info, and we'll get you a swag pack out.
Excellent. Sounds good. I'm going to drink some more of this 3.
Yeah, drink up. So, Aaron.
It's almost time, though.
4.
Time for the hot list. The beer guys have the scoop on what you need to know for next week.
That's hot.
Yeah, so we've already talked about the 3 Taverns 3rd anniversary going on Saturday. A bunch of 3s going on and 33s and that kind of stuff. So what else?
In 2 hours or about an hour and a half now, that'll be going down.
Exactly. So if you're listening in here in Georgia, go for it. It should be a great time. So what else have we got here?
So we've got all kinds of good stuff. So we also have Scofflaw Brewing is going to have some launch parties this week. So their first one is the 26th at Ormsby's. They've got one coming up at the Porter. I know my friend's Growler Shop. Check their Facebook page for the full list. We'll try and catch as many as we can and put them on our calendar as well.
Okay.
But Scofflaw will be launching very soon. They've got a few scheduled now. More to come. Friday and Saturday, the Atlanta Breweriana Show. So something if you like collectibles, coasters, bottles,
tin
cans,
signs, all those things,
all of that. So something a little different that's coming up next Saturday, Christmas in July at Lincoln Fill Station.
I love Christmas,
and that was scheduled this week, but today's a busy day.
Yes,
there's lots of stuff going on, so they decided to move it out.
That's actually a smart play. Yeah, a lot of things going on this weekend.
What's going on over in Alabama?
In Bama, we've got a lot of cool stuff happening, actually. In Madison, Picasso's Grill, Yellowhammer's having a beer dinner there. That's going to be on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, get your favorite anime costumes ready, Tim. I know that you're a big fan of this because they're having a cosplay fashion show at Rocket Republic Brewing Company. That's also in Madison. And again, that's on Wednesday, too. So, also, finally, if you like your growlers painted and, nice little artwork on your growler, you can go to Liquor Express and craft beer on Thursday in Huntsville. That's going to have a little craftiness on your growler at 6 p.m. So lots of stuff. BeerGuysRadio.com. We've got the full list, calendar, all that good stuff. You can check it out. And that's going to do it for this week. Coming up next week, I have no idea because I'm on vacation. So you're
out of here. I got this.
You Marquis?
And Marquis? It's you and me, man. We got this. We'll be talking Craft Beer 101 with Jason Dominy, introducing people to craft beer.
Don't forget, drink local. We'll see you next week. Cheers.